I'd now like to welcome to the show 12-time All-Star, MVP in 1964, NBA champion in 1971, and Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson. Oscar, welcome to Talking Sports with the Bird. How you doing?
Man, the Bird, you're on fire tonight, brother.
Oh, man. I mean, I've been a Knick fan for a long time, and I don't know what your thoughts are. I mean, you played against Phil. He was not a, he was a sixth man. But the way he's acting in terms of what he's doing with Carmelo on a public forum, I just don't understand it.
Well, I think it's the same. I mean, if I were Carmelo, I'd go to him man-to-man and ask, what's going on with you? I don't like what you're doing, and you're hurting the team, you're hurting me. So what do you hope to get out of this? And what can he say? He can't say, I'm going to do this or that, because they have nothing. There's no one out there that can save the Knicks.
I agree with that. The past weekend All-Star festivities. Now, as a three-time MVP of the All-Star game, that final score was 192 to 182. I said earlier on the show, Oscar, if I wanted to watch no defense, I'll just put on the MSG network and watch the Knicks. But my question to you is, would you change anything? You hear cries every year, the pro football, the Pro Bowl has to stop, the hockey, they play no defense. Defense is optional in those games. What would you do, if anything, to change the All-Star game for the NBA?
Well, two things. I'd really get out a survey and ask the people, do you really like this game the way it is? If they said yes, I'd keep it going. If they said no, I think they should play like they play the Globetrotters, because that's what you have. You have great dunks and alley-oops and guys that make it 3 and 4 passes to dunk and whatnot. So to me, it's like a Globetrotter game.
No, I agree with that. Now, the slam dunk competition. Now, I know I loved it with Dr. J and David Thompson and guys like that. I know there's only so many ways you could dunk a ball. Do you need star power to get back in there? I know it's dunks. I know there's only so many ways you could do it with the flying things and jumping over mascots. But if LeBron and guys like that were in it, would it change, or as the slam dunk competition kind of ran its rule?
I think it's ran its rule, but sure, if you get the stars in, you're going to change the outlook of the whole slam dunk. But when you're making $20 million, no, not $20 million, when you make about $100 million a year like LeBron is, I wouldn't get in these slam dunk contests and maybe injure my leg or something so I can't play. I mean, when it was first started, you had Michael Jordan, you had Dominique Wilkins, you had all the stars going in the slam dunk. But after a while, man, how many slam dunks can you make?
I agree. You're listening to Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson. Were you surprised by the Cousins trade, the fact that Vlade kind of gave him up for nothing? I think they got some nice draft picks back, but, draft picks are potential. Were you surprised they just unloaded him for basically nothing?
I'm not really surprised they unloaded him, but I'm surprised that he went to New Orleans. And New Orleans is struggling themselves, So you go from a team that's struggling to another team that's struggling, and what do you have? Two players who's on a struggling team. Can they make it out of what they're doing? I don't know, because if you look at teams that are successful now, you have to have just 2 and 3 and maybe sometimes 4 stars on your team in order to be successful. But it's obvious that you hear so much now about, oh man, this was the worst of all the trades I made. I don't think any general manager that's worth his salt should tell anybody that this is the worst of the trades I could have made.
Yep.
That doesn't make sense.
That was an odd choice of words he had. Oscar, watching you grow, watching you play and growing up, and watching some of your high school clips, and now watching the game the way it is today, and you've been on record saying it's a bunch of guys taking 3-pointers and shooting layups. You were a fundamentally sound player. Where do you attribute your knowledge and your fundamentals to? When did that start?
When I was in the 7th grade, probably, I had a coach named Tom Sleet, and he was an all-state basketball player from Kentucky. African-American, couldn't go anywhere after that. Played football in college. He told us the fundamentals. Every time I hear someone mention a triangle and that these guys don't know how to run it, I'd get rid of every one of them. If I had a basketball player and he said, I can't run the triangle, I said, get out of my face. Get away from here. When you first learn to play basketball, you're in a triangle with a center and a forward. You hit the center and you cut off, or you hit the forward and cut off, and you do those kind of things. But can you imagine a guy said, I can't run a triangle? How stupid is that?
Well, help me with this, because as a Knick fan, I listen to Jeff Hornacek, who most people don't realize was not really a defensive player when he played. So to act like we're surprised is act like we're surprised that Mike D'Antoni doesn't teach defense. But I read some of the quotes that we have to look at film. I watch every Knick game, Oscar, and I watch defensive guards that can't stay in front of a point guard and don't know how to go above or below a high pick and roll. And I'm thinking to myself, next to the 2-3 zone, that's the first thing you learn is how to yell out switch on defense. And you got 30-year-old guys that Jeff Hornacek is having longer practice with to try and convince something that should be innate to most of these players.
But they didn't come up that way. They finally came to an AAU situation playing basketball, and all they wanted you to do is shoot. Yeah. Anytime you go down, you for third man down on the go behind the centers and everybody against Curry, he's going to make it. He's going to score. You got to go over the top on him. But no one teaches that anymore. The referees, if you breathe on somebody, they'll call a foul anymore.
You listen to Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson. Very successful high school career with Crispus Attucks High School, an all-black school. 1955, you went 31-1, becoming the first all-black school to win the Indiana State title. 1956, you repeated it by going 31-0. As a sophomore in 1954, I'm curious, because you lost in the quarterfinals to a team called Milan. Now, most people would not know that, but they'll know that's the team that was portrayed in the movie Hoosiers. I'm curious, how was I'm assuming you watched Hoosiers, but how was your take of that movie? I bet you it was a lot different than the majority of America's take on Hoosiers.
You want me to tell you honestly?
That's exactly why I'm asking you.
I didn't watch the movie, and I'll tell you why I didn't watch the movie.
Okay.
Because they wanted to make it a white-black thing, and that was not what the Milan Hoosiers was about. Milan won in 1954. They beat a team called Muncie Central. They had 2 black guys on their team. Muncie Central should have won the game, but they didn't. But when you see the movie, it's almost as if they played the race card and going to play all these little white kids from this little this country town, beating these big kids from the ghettos, from the inner city. That's what it made a lot of money for them by playing it like that. So I never saw the movie. I didn't want to see it. When after I found out what it was about, how they portrayed it, the game itself, I didn't want to see it at all.
It basically plays into every stereotype, but as you just said, it sells tickets, and that's Hollywood. I mean, and that's America, to be honest with you, right?
No, that's true.
It's almost the same idea as a Rocky movie, is kind of what you're saying.
Oh yeah, well, Rocky, and boxing, all the black guys winning all the championships, so they need a white hero, so they put him on the screen.
You listen to Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson. I mentioned the 2 titles I love the honesty, man. You mentioned the 2 titles with Crispus Attucks, and in Indianapolis, traditional ride on a fire truck from Butler Fieldhouse to Monument Circle in downtown Indy. And the 2 times that you guys won, the bus driver seemed to take a detour and go into a different neighborhood other than Monument Circle. The first time you put up with it, the second time you didn't go. Talk about the scars that left and how annoyed it made you as a player and the rest of your team.
Well, the first time it happened, we didn't understand what was going on because it took us downtown on fire trucks, around the circle, and then back out to an all-black neighborhood because I guess they felt we would tear the town up. I mean, but no one else tore the town up, and every other champion up until that point got to get off at the fire truck at the circle. That's why they partied until they went home. The second year, I didn't even go on the fire truck. I went home. Because I didn't want to go through that again. Because at first I was naive. I didn't know what was going on. The second year I did know what was going on. I thought it was a shame and a disgrace, to be honest. For people to think, we were black. We're just ordinary kids that had to be black from the ghetto, from broken families, et cetera, et cetera. But we won basketball games, and they didn't even afford us that liberty of being able to demonstrate that by going down there and having a great time.
You listed Oscar Robertson. 2 years ago, you and 8 other surviving members of the team and the cheerleaders served as grand marshals of the Indianapolis 500. And you made it a point, obviously you're the star of that team, you would only go if the entire team and the cheerleaders could be present. And some of your ex-teammates, I'll read one quote from John Gibson. Oscar was always a team player. He got everyone involved in the game. I don't care if I'm the worst one on the floor, he's going to try and get me into the rhythm of the game. Most superstars don't do that. He was just a different type of guy. And this thing that you did 2 years ago, by including, you could have just as easily went yourself, because obviously you're the star, but including everybody else and the cheerleaders shows the type of gentleman you are.
Well, I was called about that, and I was not going at first, but then I said, well, these guys, this may be the only chance I'll get to do this again, so I agreed to do it. But it was what, 40, 50 years too late for me.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was 17 years old and won a championship, man, that's when I needed to do that. But now when I get to be in my 70s, I don't need to be able to go around that 500-mile parade. I really don't. I just didn't care for it, to be honest. But the other guys did, so I did it for them. But if I had to do it myself, I wouldn't have done it at all because I for them to do that now, it was all wrong for me. They didn't have to do it now.
Yep.
They should have done it when it occurred, when it would have meant the most for me and the rest of my teammates.
I was reading an article about you and the effect your high school team had. In those times, and we're talking late 50s, early 60s, you had as many players were finding success playing in local colleges. And you talked about the Harlem Globetrotters, and 2 of your heroes were Marcus Haynes and Goose Tatum, and how the Globetrotters and the success some of the black athletes were having in local colleges eased a lot of the tensions in the white and black communities. Talk about that.
Well, it's true because the Globetrotters they were all over the world. I mean, they no matter what with the communist countries, the countries that were controlled by dictators, but they were so well received. It was almost like the State Department anointed them, and they should have, to go around and spread this goodwill for America. They went everywhere. I mean, as a matter of fact, my brother played with the Globetrotters, but he didn't play with the top group. He played with one of the other groups that went all over the world. He truly enjoyed it. And a lot of guys played with the Globetrotters who would not had a chance to play pro basketball. Pro basketball was a great thing. I think you have to be a lucky person to play. You have to know the fundamentals, and I learned them. I learned them well. But here again, there were a lot of guys, black guys, because of the Globetrotters, had a chance to experience some of those things themselves.
Wow. Listen to Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson. The recruiting process coming out of high school, I'm not going to say you were blind to it. The first year with the high school team, you were kind of, you didn't know what was going on when the truck took that detour, but you knew damn well what was going on the second time. But talk about the recruiting process. Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, they didn't recruit black players. You had a dream of playing at Indiana, but you had a problem with the coach there. Talk about that and how you wound up at Cincinnati.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you a couple of things. I went on a trip from Michigan, flew up there, got off the plane, went inside the depot, and waited for like 4 or 5 hours. They forgot about me, so I got on the plane, came back to Indianapolis. Then I go up to Indiana. Branch McCracken wanted to see me. Got my coach to bring me up. I get up there. He keeps us waiting for a while. I'm sitting down, I'm getting edgy and whatnot, and so finally he comes in, says, I know you're not a kid who wants money to go to school. I said, what the hell is he talking about? Money to go to school? I asked my coach, what does he mean? My coach, he didn't have nothing, so I guess he might have been intimidated by Branch McCracken. But anyway, to make a long story short, I said, Coach, I want to leave.
Wow.
I got up, then after a while, the coach came out, never even heard from Branch McCracken again.
Wow. You were the first black player to play at Cincinnati, 3-time Player of the Year, 3 scoring titles.
Yeah, it was,
that's a great career. I mean, I'm not even in the pros yet, and you're already 3-time Player of the Year. But I want to talk about one time when you stayed at the Shamrock Hotel in Houston. It was a Hilton.
Oh, goodness.
Wouldn't let you stay. Now, you've reconciled with the university now, but you had a big problem, not only with, obviously, the hotel, but you had a problem with the University of Cincinnati because you kind of felt that you knew this was going to happen and you guys would not be allowed to stay at that hotel. Talk about that.
Well, it's true. We were number one or number 2 in the country, and I'm scoring 35 points a game. We go down to Houston. I'm checking into the room, and pretty soon the coach comes up and said, he said, you can't stay here. Hell, I assumed he was with this whole team. I said, where are we going? He said, no, he says, they don't want you to stay here. So I said, well, so anyway, I'm young. Hell, I didn't know what was going on. So I go to Texas Southern, spend the afternoon over there, to come back to get dressed out. And I didn't know what to do. I started to go home, to be honest. I started to get on the bus and go home. But anyway, I get dressed. I go out to half court. I didn't take one warm-up shot. People start throwing buns and coins and things at me on the floor. So when I got back to the University of Cincinnati, I said, you know what? I said, Coach, I'm not going to blame you because you checked me in the room. I said, but I tell you what, I said, I don't know if I'm going to stay here or not. But, I talked to some friends of mine in the city, some African-American friends of mine who I really respected. They said, well, you're here to get an education. And basketball is just part of it. So he says, no one's told you it's going to be easy.
Wow.
And it was not easy at the University of Cincinnati.
You listen to Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson, very honest Oscar Robertson, and I really appreciate that. Playing on the 1960 Olympic team, and you play with great players with Jerry West, Jerry Lucas, Walt Bellamy. My question is, after what you just told me about what happened in high school, what happened down in Houston, how did it feel representing the United States where you couldn't come back here and stay in certain hotels, eat in certain restaurants, or ride in the front of every bus? How did that feel?
Well, I was born in Tennessee, in Indianapolis, which was I think with a lot of the Ku Klux Klaners outfits going like crazy. You could become a conditioned to doing certain things. So when I had the chance to go on the Olympics, I thought, to me it was just another competition. But I realized years after, it was quite an honor for me. But we went out to Denver with maybe 10 teams and to have a round tournament competition to see who would go to the Olympics, and we won. And talking to Pete Newell after that, he said the AU was so strong they didn't want to hardly send any of many of our players who won this championship to the Olympics. He said Pete Newell told me he fought like crazy to keep Bellamy on the team, and we could not have won over there without Bellamy and his size. But he said he fought hard. AAU was very strong. They got 4, 5, 6 of the players on the team. They shouldn't have made the team, and a lot of guys who played in college were great, All-Americans. Tom Stiff was one of them. John Havlicek. They didn't even make the team.
Were you aware, as a 9-year-old, of what? Now, there was a lot less media back then. You were 9 years old when Jackie Robinson broke into baseball. And I know you had a conversation with your mother where I think, later on in life you were saying that you were looking at trying to be, after what you had been through, trying to be that Jackie Robinson. I hate to put it like that, but for basketball. What was the conversation like with you and your mom? And did you know what Jackie was going through? You were only 9 or 10 years old without the amount of media. Did you know what was going on?
Yeah, no. I think what you're talking about is when someone asked my mother about that, and she said, well, my son is like Jackie, but I wasn't quite like Jackie. And she got a lot of criticism, which I told her, hey, man, that's my mother. She wanted to say that. The hell with the rest of you guys. Okay. But anyway, so that's what she said. But no, I read about Jackie after I got out of at high school, because I went to this all-black school, and they taught black history. I never got any black history at all at the University of Cincinnati at all. None whatsoever.
Wow. Listen to Oscar Robertson, Hall of Famer, drafted by Cincinnati. You're the hometown guy now. First 5 years with the Cincinnati Royals, you average a triple-double. And we know that's relevant. It's always relevant, but it's really relevant now with the talk of Russell Westbrook. We'll get into today's game later. But here's the stat that is amazing to me. 48.5% career shooter for a guard is unheard of. Unheard of. And you never shot under 80% from the free throw line. With your style of play, how important was it for you to be a very good and a high taker of a lot of free throws?
Well, I think when you have the ball a lot, you're going to get touched. I sometimes average maybe 8 to 10 free throws a game, which is very good. When I first started playing, I must tell you, I couldn't shoot the free throws very well because my coach had me shooting them underhand and in front of me with 2 hands. So I had to switch. So I worked on it. I practiced on it quite a bit. That's how I got to be an 80% free throw shooter. I think all these guys you see today, some guys making $10, $15, $20 million a year can't make a free throw. They shouldn't be playing basketball. I mean, if you're paying a guy $20 million a year, and during the last 2 minutes of the game, when the game is tight and everything, a lot of pressure, you have to take him out of the game. What good is he?
So you're saying a guy like Dwight Howard, if you were coaching him, or a guy like Shaq, you'll take him on your team, but you're not going to have him on the floor late in the game.
No, because that's when you need them. You need great players when the times when you're under pressure, when the competition's hot, when you're one up or one down. You don't need them sitting on the bench. But if I said, son, I'm paying you $20 million a year, you work on your free throws this summer. Instead of going out, running around, having fun, work on your free throws, because this is part of your life. This is what you're going to need to be a better basketball player.
The losing in Cincinnati, the last 5 years in Cincinnati, does that take its toll on a player? Because, I read all the quotes with Carmelo, and it's got to take its toll. But talk about your personal thing. And then at the end, when they brought Bob Cousy in, you guys obviously did not see eye to eye. But talk about the last 5 years in Cincinnati and the issues with Bob Cousy as a player coach.
Well, what happens with a lot of black athletes, we talk to some of them, tell you, when you win, they don't say enough about you. When they lose, they say too much. When you lose, they say too much. They want you to win games. Well, they want you to be the person to win games. And you got other players on the team who they hardly ever say anything about that at all. But they want you to, if you're Oscar Robertson, they want you to be in the game, winning games. If you get beat, they say, Oscar, I might have the same points, 30 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. But they say, he played okay, but, we didn't win because of his leadership. But, I always said this, and I think of Carmelo when I said this. If they're going to blame everything on Carmelo, get us better players. Don't tell me you got a center that can't play. You got a guard can't guard anybody. You got another forward over there, man. They made a basket in a week. And you blame everything on me?
Yep, that's exactly what's happening. Now you get traded to Milwaukee. You win your first championship, 1971. Your scoring average went down 6 points per game, but you played with an all-time great in Lou Alcindor. How did your leadership role change, and how much of an adjustment was it for you to back down on the scoring, knowing you finally had somebody on your team that you could go to?
Well, because I realized that I didn't want the other guys to make changes to accommodate me. I could make the changes much easier, which is what I did. And I knew that the Bucks wanted Kareem to lead the league in scoring. They really wanted that because it was important to him, which meant nothing to me. And we had some other players, Bobby Dandridge and John McLaughlin, Greg Smith, and Lucius Allen were coming on. They had to get better too. They had to become better basketball players, and we did. We won a championship. Won a great. And you know what then happened next year? They traded a starter, Greg Smith. They traded Boozer, McCoy McLemore, and Dick Cunningham. And for what? I said, you guys have killed us. I said, this is the backbone of our team, a great bench, good size. And you traded a starter from our championship team? I said, who's doing this? No answer.
Yep. It had to be frustrating because you finally had a surrounding cast around you where you could do some damage. Now, you got to humor me. I'm a Knicks fan. Playing against the 72-73 Knicks who won the championship. Talk about what a matchup it was going against Clyde, because, he speaks amazingly of you. But talk about going against a guy like Clyde, talking about going against a guy like Jerry West, and how underrated a player was Elgin Baylor.
Well, let me start with Elgin. It's a shame and a disgrace that when they talk about great forwards, they don't mention Elgin Baylor's name. I think maybe this has came from the league because he was suing that guy with the Clippers. I think that might have been part of it. I don't know. I was told this by a lot of people that the league didn't like it. The posture Elgin Baylor took with the Clippers. Walt, Earl Monroe, Jerry West were great basketball players. There are a lot of great Sam Jones. Yep. There are a lot of great basketball players because if you look at all those players during those years, they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And they got in the Hall of Fame because of the way they played, not because somebody liked them.
You're 100% right. Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson. Couple more for you. 1971. You were the president of the Players Association, and you led the antitrust suit against the NBA. It took 6 years to come to fruition. So you've mentioned about 3 or 4 times money that players get now, and you definitely do not begrudge them because you were the guy that you were kind of like the Kurt Flood here. Talk about that whole lawsuit, how it started, and how happy you were when it came to fruition 6 years later.
Well, the lawsuit started because a lot of inequities. I guess the ABA was coming along at the same time. And I guess 68 or 69, I don't know the exact day for the exact time for the ABA. And you know, the NBA was a selfish team. They didn't want any competition, so they tried to get the teams to merge. And we were against it because we wanted to be some competition with among salaries. And then you found out just because I'm not playing for your team, they had perpetual rights on you forever. You couldn't go anywhere if you drove a car that they didn't like, if you went out with the wrong girl, they didn't like it. If you had on the right clothes for you, they might not like that, so they keep you from playing forever. We just felt that was wrong. We felt that if you didn't have a contract with a team, that you're a free agent. And we went to court. Took us quite a while to get that done. Had a lot of support from a lot of the players, and we finally got that accomplished.
And it's amazing because every league that has done that, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, all the owners bemoaned it. But I think your quote is, now you got owners selling teams that are worth $2 billion. So it's always worked out. No one wants to give up to the players, but every time they do, whether it's baseball, basketball, or football, look what Jerry Jones's Dallas Cowboys are worth. It's unbelievable. So that's how you know what you're dealing with.
Isn't that amazing what his team is worth? What do you think he's making off the team? And does these begrudge guys making the money now? He gave what, 20 or 30 million to Tony Romo, and he's not even playing.
He's not even playing, I know. 2 more for you. Steph Curry. You're very critical, not of Steph Curry, but of the fact that no one plays defense. You say basically coaches today don't know the game.
Yeah, let me clear it up.
Yep.
I think he's probably the headiest guard. Going. There's some things that Westbrook does that he can't do because of the size and quickness. But this kid is great. He's real cerebral with the basketball. He knows the whole flow of the game, and he's really content with what he's doing. Great basketball player. I'm sure a lot of teams would say had a lot of this Curry. What I said before is that any time you have great basketball players that shoot the ball like crazy, you have to pick them up. You have to guard them all over the floor.
Yep. You've got 181 lifetime triple-doubles. Obviously, the talk this year is Russell Westbrook. I know the stats. This is what people don't want to talk about. The assists today are given out a lot more easier than they were back when you played. But that aside, what is your feeling about Westbrook as a player? Do you admire the way he plays the game? First of all, you got to admire his ferociousness. But in terms of the triple-double aspect, which brings your name up every single night on SportsCenter, you like Westbrook as a player?
Love him. I think he's tremendous. I think he's the type of person people want to watch on television, and I think that it's his players that should have a meeting and said, listen, we got to do something to help us because I got a lot of assists. Sometimes I'm sure I got assists they didn't even count because of the way they didn't count it that way back then.
Right.
But we didn't win. So great. Great to have beside your name, but when you talk about winning, and we didn't win during those days. Which really hurts me to a point because I've always thought if you don't have the right management team on your side, if they don't make the right trade every now and then, you're not going to win. But if you look at all championship basketball teams in the NBA. What's the common denominator? They made a key trade in order to win. I'll say this because then I guess you're probably going to want to cut this off. Kevin Durant. There's so mad about him going to Golden State. Where else could he go? So you're okay with it? You're okay with Durant going there and joining forces with 2 other guys? You're okay with that? Not a problem. Where else could he go? To the Knicks? Come on now. Why do you got to rub it in? Philadelphia? No, I understand. Listen, the Lakers for years would always go and raid the best center in basketball and bring him out to the Lakers, wouldn't they? Yep. Bill Russell went from St. Louis to Boston in a trade that made Boston a great team. The Lakers remember they got Wilt Chamberlain from somebody. I guess it must have been Philadelphia.
They got him from Philadelphia,
Okay. This is what happened. Look at what Boston did a few years ago when they got Garnett and Allen.
Well, that's because McHale was friends with Ainge. I wish Phil Jackson could get some friends like that.
and look at Chicago. When Jordan first came to Chicago, they got hammered by Detroit. But then what happened? They bring in Cartwright. They got Pippen in the draft. They got Horace Grant, and man,
you need a team. One guy's not doing everything. So you have no problem with LeBron. What's your feel about LeBron complaining that his roster is not where it should be? And what's your feel about Barkley? I know Barkley's very talkative. He gets paid to say outrageous things. What's your feel about that? Because you do like athletes that do speak up. What's your feel about LeBron complaining about his roster and Barkley shouting him down?
I think LeBron sees the situation now with Golden State. They played them a couple of times, and I don't think they can beat them. And I think he feels the same way. And, you know, what is Barkley talking about? I know, Chuck. Didn't he go to Philadelphia to Phoenix?
He begged his way out of Philly to go to Phoenix. You're 100% right. And then he went to Houston.
Yeah, that's right. Went to Houston. And where else did he go?
Well, he joined up with a lot of good players. You're exactly right. That's why it's kind of hypocritical of him. I agree with you.
I think these guys forget things when it happens a few years ago.
We all do.
I think they want to forget, but you know, I mean, everyone's trying to find that championship ring.
Okay, Oscar Robertson, Hall of Famer. Last one, I promise. Are you happy? You were very outspoken as a player. Are you happy with a lot of the stances that players today? You heard the comment with Curry made about Donald Trump. You saw the comment with I Can't Breathe and Black Lives Matter. Are you happy with the amount of talking that the players are doing? Because, you know, they're highly successful players. They have that platform. Are you happy with people speaking out on these social issues?
I am, because they have to be starved, because they're part of America. Why let these other underlings, people go out here and make comments that some guy, just because he say he's a congressman or senator, they don't know any more than you do. I mean, another thing, you said, there are people said I was outspoken. I said these things. I've always said this: I will never tell you anything that's not true. If you ask me a question, I will try to tell you the truth, but I'm not going to say anything to hurt anybody. But I always try to tell the truth. People don't like that. Maybe that's what they don't like. Maybe they want these ball players to be make the money and keep your mouth shut. But they have kids. They see what's going on in the street, and with the social media, man, that stuff is like wildfire.
I agree. Oscar, I'm sorry. Finish up. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't see in this day and age how anyone. The problem with America, the problem with communism and dictatorship, because people keep quiet. Just like Donald Trump is trying to quiet the press. I think players should say. I think everyone should all get together and say something, whether they like it or not. Wow. If you like it, say something. If you don't like it, say something.
I love the honesty, my man. First of all, Oscar, I appreciate all the time and your honesty. And again, congratulations, an unbelievable career, a great man. And I tell you, I know my audience enjoyed it because I know I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all your time, Oscar. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.
Okay.